She told me she was working late. Again, that night, I found a lavender earring in the back seat of our Camry. It wasn't hers. Wrong color, wrong shape, wrong story. I didn't ask. I didn't accuse. I just placed it neatly on her vanity tray. Next to the perfume she wore only when she had client dinners. That was the beginning not of the affair, but of my silence. Because by the time she started cheating, I had already stopped trusting. Vanessa always underestimated silence. She thought it meant weakness, surrender. But silence, when curated carefully, becomes architecture. I wasn't angry. I was building. She got home at 9:47 p.m. that night. Her shoes came off by the door, same heels she once claimed made her look powerful. She didn't look powerful. She looked rehearsed. "Hey babe," she said, setting her bag down, with a sigh too loud to be real. "Long day, client dinner. Yeah, billing software pitch. They're dragging their feet." She rubbed her temples. "I'm exhausted." I nodded. "I left you some pasta fridge." She smiled faintly. "You're sweet." But she didn't open the fridge. She poured a glass of wine instead. She didn't even ask how my day was. Later that night, while she scrolled Instagram on the couch beside me, I sent a single email to my attorney. Subject, trigger file, access request. And, if you're listening without a subscription, now is the time. Because this story doesn't end where you think it does. Not even close. 3 days later, she left her laptop open. I wasn't looking for proof. I already had it. What I wanted was tone. His name was Brandon. He used a lot of exclamation points. Called her V. Told her she made hotel pillows feel like home. She replied with hearts, with a sentence I had never heard her say to me in 5 years of marriage. "I feel seen with you." I didn't take screenshots. I didn't need them. I just quietly opened my safe, removed the USB labeled July documents, and slid it into my blazer. That morning, I drove to my office, walked past my assistant without a word, and sat at my desk. I opened the encrypted folder. Inside, 2 signed postnuptial contracts, power of attorney, revocation documents, a living trust deed, and a manila folder labeled simply birthday folder. I clicked open the first PDF, a spreadsheet. Column A, every shared account. Column B, date of full separation. Column C, new owner. Vanessa always thought of me as the sentimental one. She was wrong. I was the architect. Vanessa's birthday was exactly 11 days away. She'd been planning it like it was a rebranding campaign. White dress, garden party theme, 42 candles on a 3-tier cake, and invitations sent in gold embossed envelopes that said, Chapter 42, Still Thriving. Her emails to the caterer, copied to her mother and her college roommate. Not me. She forgot I had access to the shared iCloud calendar. She didn't realize her birthday wasn't her event anymore. It was the deadline. I spent that weekend preparing in silence. Every step precise, mechanical. Step 1, the trust activation. Week earlier, I'd transferred our joint investment account into a newly created trust, under my name alone. She'd signed the transfer form months ago, buried in the paperwork for refinancing the kitchen remodel. She never read what she signed. She just liked the idea of free marble samples. Step 2, utility separation. Power, gas, water, all shifted to my personal LLC, not because I wanted control, but because I needed to create a ledger, and ledgers are powerful in court. Step 3, the burner. I activated a secondary phone, new number, registered under an alias. Connected to a Gmail account with exactly 3 contacts, my lawyer, my financial advisor, and 1 real estate agent. Her name was Clarissa. She didn't ask why I needed a second house. She just asked, "How soon do you need the keys?" I said, 10 days. Vanessa came home late again on Wednesday. This time, she had a tan line on her ring finger. Said it was from a yoga class. "You know they make you take off jewelry now," she said casually. "Sweat builds up under the stones." I nodded. Smart. She poured wine, took a call in the laundry room, laughed in that quiet way you reserve for people you want to impress, not the ones you live with. I opened the envelope in my drawer, not to check, just to feel the weight of it. It held printed bank statements, all notarized, copies of texts she'd sent from her synced iPad, including one that read, "If he ever finds out, I'll say it was emotional." Guys, forgive emotional. It wasn't emotional. There were receipts, there were locations, and there was Brandon's stupid, oblivious face, smiling in a selfie she forgot to delete from her shared photo album. His arm was around her waist. Her hand was inside his jacket. Taken at 2:04 p.m. on a Tuesday. She told me she was at a financial literacy seminar. That night, while she slept, I quietly uploaded 3 files into a secure cloud drive. I named them affair_evidence.pdf, asset_protection.xlsx, Vanessa_birthday.mov. Video wasn't what you think. That was a recording I made of myself sitting in the garage, looking directly into the camera, saying one sentence: "You should have read what you signed." I didn't blink, I didn't smile, I just clicked save. 11 days. That was all the time I needed. Vanessa was in full event planning mode. Every evening that week, she was buried in Pinterest boards and wine, candle colors, canopy dimensions. One night she spent 23 minutes on the phone, deciding between 2 shades of cream. I didn't say a word. At dinner, she smiled at her phone more than she smiled at me. Guess what? She chirped between bites of salmon. Brandon's wife filed for separation. Can you believe that? I didn't flinch. What a surprise, right? She said, as if it weren't personal. She was always a little cold. I refilled her wine. Some people are like that. That night, I scheduled a courier to deliver 3 letters on the morning of her birthday. Each envelope sealed, each labeled with precision. To her mother, financial disclosures. To Brandon's wife, a courtesy file. To Vanessa, just one line. Happy birthday. Check the drawer. For days out, I had lunch with my financial advisor in a quiet corner of a steakhouse. No paper menus, no trail. He slid a document across the table. You're officially sole signatory on the Horizon account. She won't see it until her access attempt is declined. I signed it. What happens when she tries? She'll get an error, then a call, then panic. Good. He leaned back. She really doesn't know. She's busy picking out garden lanterns. That night, she left for her networking dinner in a navy dress I hadn't seen before. It's not new, she lied before I could ask. Just pulled from the back of the closet. I smiled. Looks expensive. She kissed my cheek with the precision of a diplomat.
Don't.
Wait up, I didn't. Instead, I opened the kitchen drawer. The envelope was still there, clean, sealed, untouched. Inside, a copy of our prenup, the clause she overlooked. The amendment she signed after a minor car accident 3 years ago, when I paid off the deductible and she promised to be more careful. It stated, any extramarital activity, proven or admitted, constitutes immediate forfeiture of all shared assets, initiated post-signature. She initialed the clause, herself distracted, apologetic. She just wanted the paperwork out of the way. That clause was now worth $500,000. By the time she returned that night, scented like someone else's cologne, I was in bed, reading quietly. She slipped into the bathroom, brushed her teeth, didn't ask about my day. Good night, she mumbled, crawling under the covers like nothing was burning. I waited until her breathing steadied. Then I reached under the bed and pulled out the box. Oak. Smooth edges. 1 latch. Inside, the flash drive. 2 printed letters. 1 folded photo, her and Brandon, hand in hand, beneath a sign that said Wyndham Rooftop, guest access only. The timestamp, 9:03 p.m. The same night she told me she was at her sister's house. 3 days left. Thursday afternoon, 3:17 p.m. That was when I watched the final piece fall. It came in the form of a text, accidentally sent to me instead of him. She meant to forward a dinner reservation to Brandon. Instead, she sent it to B, and I was still saved under B. From the days when she used to care about hiding things. Table for 2, 8 p.m. Rooftop seating, confirmed, Wyndham. She realized it 5 minutes later. I know because she followed it up with, oops, sorry, that was for Becca. Becca doesn't exist, at least not in our world. The only Becca she ever mentioned was a Pilates instructor she unfollowed last year for posting too many engagement ring selfies. I replied with one word, understood, no anger, no follow-up. I wanted her to feel the air thinning without knowing why. By then, I had already rerouted our joint savings into the Cascade Holding Trust. She never noticed the alert went to a dummy email she forgot she had. She set it up for online coupons back when we still shared grocery runs. At 4:12 p.m. I called Clarissa. The agent walkthrough's complete. She said, keys are ready. You still want the delivery on Saturday? Yes, noon sharp. She paused. It's beautiful, you know, a little modern for a man alone. Not for long. I ended the call, stood by the window, and watched as the shadows from the trees stretched across our driveway like long, quiet fingers. Friday morning, she was in a rush. White blouse, black heels, hair pinned up in that slightly messy style. She called effortless. She kissed my cheek, but only because I leaned in first. You okay? She asked, halfway out the door. I nodded, just thinking. About what? I smiled faintly. How people reveal themselves. She laughed. Distracted. You're getting philosophical. I watched her drive off without another word. By noon, I was at my lawyer's office. Everything was ready. The divorce packet complete. The evidentiary file included the cease and desist for Brandon, citing personal misconduct during company-funded travel, notarized and waiting. My attorney Marcus adjusted his glasses and slid a thin envelope toward me. This is the statement you'll include with the delivery. You sure about the tone? I didn't look down. Did you change the last line, like I asked? He nodded. Consider this my final gift. Then we're done. He studied me. You don't want a confrontation. No, I said. I want clarity. For both of us. Friday night, she came home earlier than expected. Said her dinner was rescheduled, that the client canceled last minute. Funny, Wyndham didn't cancel. They confirmed via email at 7:56 p.m. Brandon just didn't show. She was off balance, pacing, checking her phone. You hungry? I asked. Already plating reheated pasta. She shook her head. I ate already. I nodded. Wine. Maybe later. We sat in silence, the kind that presses on your ribs. She scrolled through her phone while I cleared the dishes. She didn't ask about my day. Didn't ask why I seemed calm. That was the part she never understood, what true calm means in a man. Like me, not peace. Not forgiveness. Just readiness. Saturday. Her birthday. The sun came up like it always did, quiet, indifferent. She was still asleep when the courier arrived. Exactly 8 a.m. I met him at the door, handed over 3 identical black envelopes, and nodded. Please confirm once they're all delivered. He gave a small salute. Will do. I returned to the kitchen and made her coffee. Oat milk, splash of cinnamon, just how she liked it. She came down at 9:12 a.m., still in her robe. Smiling. Smells amazing, she said. You always remember. I poured it into her favorite mug, the one that said rise, thrive, repeat. She sipped, then tilted her head. You seem, different. I am. She narrowed her eyes. You're not mad about last night? I shook my head. No, I'm past all that. That unsettled her more than yelling ever could. She sat at the table, scrolling again, waiting for something, a text, a reply, an apology. Instead, she got silence. At 9:41 a.m., her phone buzzed. She picked it up with a hopeful smile. It disappeared just as fast. Strange, she muttered. What is nothing, just weird spam, right? At 10:03 a.m. She found the envelope. It was resting inside the drawer by the oven, next to the recipe cards she never used. It was sealed with a black wax stamp, old habit from my grandfather. She stared at it for a moment before opening it. Inside was one page. It read, Vanessa, you said your new life begins today. I agree. The funds are gone. The accounts are closed. The passwords changed. The house is no longer in your name. The photos are backed up, the evidence stored. The lawyer will contact you Monday. Consider this my final gift. I watched her read it twice. Her lips moved silently. Her expression didn't crack. Not yet. That would come later. She looked up at me, eyes wide. What is this? I stood, picked up my keys, slid on my jacket. It's your birthday, Vanessa, I said, stepping toward the door. You should celebrate. She stepped forward. Wait, what does this mean? It means, I said calmly, you don't get to keep what you broke. And then I left. At 10:16 a.m. I reached the house on Ridgeview Lane. My new address. Unlisted, tucked behind sycamores and quiet fences. Far from the neighborhood barbecues and block party smiles we used to fake. The agent left the keys in a black envelope taped to the inside of the mailbox. Clean handoff. No witnesses, just like I asked. Inside, the house smelled like primer and unfinished wood. The floors creaked like they still remembered carpenters, not secrets. It was perfect. I set the small box oak, smooth, labeled birthday, folder on the kitchen counter. Then I opened the blinds and let the sun pour into this clean slate of a life. My phone buzzed for the 6th time. Vanessa. Missed. Call. Missed call. Text. What did you do? I didn't answer. I was busy reintroducing myself to silence, the real kind. The kind that doesn't lie to your face while planning a weekend in a hotel downtown. I turned the phone off. At 11:02 a.m., Clarissa called. All your deliveries were confirmed, she said, crisp and professional. One went to a P.O. box, but it was signed for Brandon's wife. Correct. Good. I could hear the curiosity in her voice. She wanted to ask, what was in those envelopes? Why the timing? Why the precision? She didn't. That's why I hired her. Anything else? She asked. Just one thing, I said. Please forward the final clause from the house deed to my attorney. Full name listed as sole owner, no joint occupancy. It's already done, she said, and for what it's worth. You played this well. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. It wasn't a game. Back at the old house, the party was falling apart before it even started. The caterer called me at 11:45 a.m., confused. Vanessa had tried to cancel, but the deposit was non-refundable and the contract was in my name. Guests were arriving. Decorations had been hung, but the hostess was unraveling. Visibly, the only thing still intact was the cake, 3 tiers, white fondant, topped with golden numbers, 42. I imagined her holding a flute of champagne with shaking hands, smiling too wide, laughing too loud. She'd tell people I was being dramatic, that this was just a separation, that I'd come to my senses, but the birthday folder said otherwise. At 1:13 p.m., Brandon's wife responded. A text, just one sentence, thank you for the truth, nothing more. No follow-up, no drama. That was enough. The documents I sent her were clean, chronological, irrefutable, timestamps, receipts, screen captures, and a short summary that started with the night Vanessa claimed she was at a networking dinner and ended with the hotel invoice room service for 2, charged to Brandon's company card. I hadn't added commentary. I didn't need to. Let the silence speak for itself. 2:03 p.m., another call from Vanessa. Straight to voicemail. 2:11 p.m., text from her mother. Is this a joke? You ruined her birthday. I didn't reply, but I did forward the message to Marcus, my lawyer. At 2:19 p.m., he texted back, adding to record. This helps. That was the thing about betrayal. Once you expose it, everything else becomes admissible. Words, reactions, omissions, they all tell the same story. Vanessa thought birthdays were about candles and curated hashtags. I thought they were about truth. Back at Ridgeview, I unpacked one box. Just one. Inside, a few books. My grandfather's pocket watch. The photo of my father shaking my hand after I bought my first house. And then, in a smaller envelope, the flash drive. I slid it into the laptop, opened the folder marked exit plan, and hit play on the video I'd recorded 2 months earlier just in case. On screen, it was me.com, measured, looking directly into the lens. If this file is being used, then I didn't get cold feet. I followed through. To the people watching this, you mistook quiet for passive. You thought the lack of confrontation meant I'd folded. But some men don't break. They design. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to finish the truth, she started. Happy birthday, Vanessa. You blew out the wrong candle. I saved the file. Then I wiped the flash drive clean. One message. At 3:07 p.m., the neighbor from the old street sent me a picture. Vanessa, standing on the porch, barefoot, holding a wine glass in one hand and a crumpled napkin in the other. Her expression, vacant. The caption read, "You okay, man? It looks messy over there." I replied, "That's not my address anymore." And at 4 p.m., just as the last guests were leaving, and the cleanup crew began wrapping napkins into plastic tubs, Vanessa finally understood. She found the second envelope, the one taped under the drawer in her vanity. Inside, a simple note. You used to ask me why I was so quiet. You thought I didn't care, but the truth is silence is preparation, and you prepared me perfectly. She didn't call after that. Didn't text. Not that day. Some endings are loud, but the most dangerous. They're whispering. That silence lasted 5 days. No texts, no calls, not even a drive-by to the new address. Vanessa had disappeared into whatever emotional smokescreen she'd prepared, likely framing me as unhinged, impulsive, going through something. But I wasn't going through anything. I was going somewhere. On the 6th morning, I got a call from Marcus, my attorney. His tone was calm, but laced with anticipation. She filed a response. He said, "She's contesting." "No, she's requesting reconciliation." I chuckled. "Of course she is." Marcus continued. "She says it was an emotional lapse. That the affair wasn't physical. That she regrets the miscommunication. She's offering mediation." I leaned back in the leather chair in my new office, sunlight spilling over the desk, not a trace of her in sight. "She's buying time," I said. He agreed. "And maybe leverage." "She didn't read the paperwork, did she?" "No," he said, "which is why I'd like to talk about Clause 17. The 60-day clause. Tucked inside the separation documents was a timeline, a narrow window stating that if the divorce process were obstructed, delayed, or contested under false pretenses, it would automatically trigger an emergency settlement review, which meant one thing: immediate asset division at the court's discretion. It was designed to protect against stalling tactics. Vanessa had signed it quickly without reading. Distracted by a potential job offer from a real estate firm in Chicago that I later discovered never existed. "Activate it," I said. "Understood," Marcus replied. She received notice by end of day. I didn't hear from her until 7:31 that evening. The text was short. "You're making this so much worse than it has to be." I replied with a photo of the signed clause, underlined in red. No words. No commentary. She didn't respond. The next morning, I got a call from Donan, old friend who still worked in the finance office at her brokerage firm. She showed up today looking like she hadn't slept in a week. He said, tried to act normal but couldn't stop asking about retirement packages and company buyouts. Any reason? She's trying to move money fast, he said, but her signature's been flagged. I paused. Flagged how? Because of the letter. The one you sent to HR. Ah, yes, that letter. 4 days earlier, I'd forwarded a single-page complaint to her firm's compliance officer. No accusations, just a question. Can an employee representing your firm list their personal partner as a professional referral during closed negotiations? It was attached to an email thread she'd sent to Brandon during a property appraisal one where she referred to him as her evaluation partner, then forwarded him internal pricing models. Technically, not illegal. But ethically, enough to warrant scrutiny, especially for someone whose job depends on clean boundaries and investor trust. That afternoon, I logged into the account she never knew about. A small fund I had opened in my brother's name. Years earlier, when I began noticing Vanessa's growing disinterest in shared goals, she once said financial planning made her feel old and boxed in. So I gave her the illusion of freedom. while quietly constructing walls around the real assets. Inside the fund, $68,000 from the bonus she thought we spent on remodeling, $25,000 from selling the secondary car, $92,000 in private dividend growth, total $185,000, tax shielded, trace proof, and permanently out of reach. That account wasn't for revenge, it was for the next chapter. And speaking of chapters, the package for Brandon arrived at his office the next day. Brown envelope. No sender. Inside, a USB stick, a printed transcript of his texts with Vanessa, and a single sheet of paper with one question. Does your new boss know you declared her your business partner in bed and on paper? He worked for a family-run firm, conservative, tight-knit. They didn't like bad optics. They especially didn't like legal liability. I wasn't trying to ruin him, I was giving him a moment. The kind Vanessa never gave me. A moment to realize what happens when you build your dreams on someone else's broken vows. He took it, according to Dawn. Brandon put in a request for unpaid leave by lunch. His office door stayed closed. His LinkedIn status changed from managing partner to former managing partner in less than 48 hours. Vanessa texted me the following morning. You crossed the line. I replied, no, Vanessa, you did. At 9 a.m. the next day, her mother called me. She had never been a fan of mine, thought I was too serious, not fun enough for her daughter. She once told Vanessa to marry someone who worships you, not someone who audits you. But now her tone was different. Controlled, nervous. Vanessa says you're being cruel, she said. I sipped my coffee. Let the silence stretch. She says you're turning everyone against her. That you set a trap. I didn't set anything. I said, I wrote everything down. She stepped into it. She's your wife. She was my wife, I corrected. You're better than this. No, I said. I'm just quieter. Later, that day, a new text arrived. From Vanessa, I'm sorry. I wasn't fair to you. Can we at least talk? I stared at the screen for a while, then typed, you had 100 chances to talk. You used them to lie. She replied, so that's it? After all these years? I stared at that one longer, then typed, no, not after all these years, because of them, and I turned the phone off again. The 60-day clause was now in motion. By the end of the week, court filings would be official. Her access frozen, her name removed from every account. But I wasn't done yet. The final move wasn't legal, it was personal, and it was coming on the one day she thought I'd forget, the morning of 60 days. And 1 minute later, arrived with an almost audible hush. I stood by the window of my new home, the one that would never belong to her again, and watched the faintest glow of dawn illuminate a path I'd built in silence. It was not the sunrise she deserved, but the one she unknowingly paved the way for. My attorney's knock came at precisely 9:42 a.m. Sealed, final, irrevocable. I signed the final documents. The settlement was to be automatic, assets divided, per the legal clause, the house deed transferred, communications blocked. The court file would carry my collected signature as the final note. As he left, I watched the clasp of our old rings lie separate on the desk, photographs of ceremonies we never once looked at. I let them stay there. That evening, a thought struck me as I walked through the empty rooms we once shared. Not anger, not regret, just sliding, fading certainty that I'd won, not because I destroyed, but because I unmade the narrative she built. On my coaster, a single candle rolled off when I poured a drink. Not romantic, not symbolic, just movement. I closed the door, turned off the lights, and whispered to myself, some freedoms come from taking nothing but removing everything that wasn't real. My phone buzzed once more. A message from her, pleading, not apologetic, just, I understand now. Silence. A week later, I scanned the court clerk's email. The divorce was finalized. The judgment in my favor, clean. No surprise there. But a shared mail folder pinged on an unopened file titled, oddly, for M. My heart didn't race, it dipped. I opened it, an old photograph. Us at the courthouse steps, the day we filed the joint papers, holding hands. On the back, faint handwriting in her script. Maybe this wasn't the ending, followed by a phone number, a test, a trap, or closure. I stared at it. I didn't dial. The sunrise came again 2 days later. I packed one suitcase not full. A lifetime doesn't fit in a rolling bag. At 6:07 a.m., I snapped that photograph, framed it, and left it in a drawer with the label Vanessa. Not for her, but for the person I was with her. Now gone. I placed the framed picture on a shelf. In my new home, the blank walls finally held substance. I turned off the phone. People fade. Words fade. But every carefully laid silence endures. Some endings are loud. But the most dangerous, they're whispering.